What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. And in this video I'm going to be giving you guys the review of the new Three Houses banner coming out tomorrow, and also the weapon refines which we got in the update 4.3.0. The timestamps are going to be in the description right below that like button, and let us begin. So I want to thank ShailorMercury as always for the layout. You can check her Twitter in the description. And the first unit we're going to take a look at is Lysithea, the star of this banner pretty much. So Lysithea is an infantry red mage with 160 BST with insane offensive stat spread of 41 attack and 37 base speed. That is just really insane on its own. And she also has super boon in attack. And if you were not expecting her to have attack super boon, then I would just say that you are really innocent and I really adore you. And this is the super boon which really matters for her. HP and defense don't really matter all that much. Hades Omega is her weapon. And this weapon gives -1 special cooldown to her, so Moonbow becomes a 1-turn cooldown special, and then she can trigger that with the help of Time Pulse, so that's really useful. And when she initiates combat, she gets +4 speed and +4 attack during the combat, and if her special is ready, which is likely going to be happening because of Time Pulse and Moonbow being a 1-turn cooldown special, then she gains additional +6 attack during the combat. Now keep in mind, these are all in combat buffs, so this can be stacked up with visible buffs obviously. And she can also run Glimmer actually, because her attack is really high, so she might get more out of Glimmer than Moonbow. It's also a 2-turn cooldown special, so that could definitely be done. And Lysithea is in general like a nuke mage. Kind of similar to Celica, but surpasses Celica in terms of nuking potential because of her really high attack. Celica can still be faster, so that's definitely something that she's still got. And in terms of comparison, you could also compare her to Lilina, but Lilina is nowhere near as fast as Lysithea. So Lysithea is just a really powerful unit. If you do get one copy of her, then you could probably beat all of the in-game content with Lysithea and 3 dancers basically, because of her high attack, good base kit, and the fact that she can get so much more attack from this weapon. So she's a glass cannon similar to how she is in Three Houses, and if like normal version of Lysithea is this powerful, then I really wonder how Brave Lysithea is going to be ending up. She's got Death Blow 4 as her slotted skill, really good, giving her even more attack, +8 attack, and lot speed resistance. So even if you have got any kind of buffs on your resistance, she will just ignore that and still nuke you to another dimension. So that's definitely helpful to her. I wish this was lull attack resistance, because then you could fodder her off to Reinhardt, because Death Blow 4 is definitely a skill Reinhardt appreciates, and lull attack resistance would have been perfect because Reinhardt is just used so much. A lot of people have him at +10 merge, and as like a fodder, Lysithea has got a lot of value because you could inherit Death Blow 4 and Time Pulse at the same time, or Death Blow 4 and lull speed resistance at the same time. So that's just really good. Time Pulse is like a reference to her past and her supports, I guess, if you have seen those and if you know of Lysithea. It's kind of cruel, honestly. She can also be used with something like Draconic Aura and Special Spiral, but then at that point, if you're running Special Spiral, then Time Pulse really doesn't do too much for you. So that's an option, I guess, because she does a -1 special cooldown on her special. So that is something you could do with her. And she also has application in Aetherite's defense because she's a really powerful nuke. And someone like Brave Eye gets used a lot by a lot of people. And just being a powerful mage is enough for her to be a good candidate in Aetherite's defense. And because of her low HP, she can be worked out with Infantry Pulse teams. And she already has Time Pulse. -1 special cooldown means that you could have something like Luna on her. So in those kinds of Infantry Pulse teams, Lysithea is definitely going to be seeing some usage. And you're definitely going to be facing her when you're going to be playing in Aetherites. Flame Emperor is the new free-to-play unit that we're getting on Monday, I believe, through a Grand Hero battle. And he is a 178 BST unit. So that means that after +1 merge, he's able to go past 180 BST. And that is incredibly useful for scoring. So if you need like a score bot in Arena or Elysian's Battles or any of those like scoring modes, then Flame Emperor is definitely a really good candidate to +10 merge with your rails. And because he is a Grand Hero battle unit, it does take less rails to +10 merge him. Because he's probably going to be having a rerun in like 6 months. And as it is, you get 3 copies of him. So it's better value compared to Tempest Trial units. I know many people have built up a plus in Sheena, but Flame Emperor just scores better and has better stats. And in terms of stats, he's basically like a better Halloween Dorcas even with his stat spread and his base kit. So stat spread wise, he's got like 5 more resistance than Halloween Dorcas, I would say. Pretty similar stat spread, 40 attack. It's really good actually, and 37 high defense. Speed is not really all that min-maxed. If this was a banner unit, I can assure you that they would reduce Flame Emperor's speed to like 17 or 18 and put all of that in the resistance. But because this is a free-to-play unit, isn't really all that min-maxed. But hey, really good high-scoring unit, so that's definitely something. And he comes with Guard Axe Plus, which is basically like a normal version of Hako Lantern with Halloween Dorcas has. Ignis as a special, which is really good because high defense. And Bracing Stance 2 and Weary Fighter 3. Bracing Stance is already present on Conrad, so this is nothing new, so I wish he had something a bit different, but still, you know, another way of getting Bracing Stance on your defensive enemy phase unit, so that's good. And Weary Fighter is good for slow units. So if you're looking to make any kind of unit for scoring purpose, then Flame Emperor is objectively the best option that free-to-play players have right now. I wish he came with the preferred weapon, because then you wouldn't have to give him like a tier 4 slotsy skill for the max scoring, but oh well. Still a really good option nonetheless. And the next unit we have is Bernadetta. So Bernadetta is a bow cavalier with the Persecution Bow as her weapon. So this is a legendary weapon giving her +3 attack, which is incredibly good because her base attack isn't really all that stellar at base 32. And if she has got any kind of penalty active on herself, or if she's below 100% health, then she gets +5 attack and speed during the combat, and she also gets the Desperation effect basically. So you want her to be not at full HP, and that is pretty easy to do with the push skill that she comes with, and you could also utilize bracing skills with that. Now just to keep in mind, there's actually a translation error in the trailer, and Fire Emblem Heroes did actually correct this on Twitter. So you do actually need her to be at less than 100% health or having penalty on her so that she can activate her Desperation basically. And this is just really incredible weapon. It's kind of a reference to her personal skill, I guess, and the Desperation effect is a reference to her crest. Bernadetta is definitely a pretty good bow cavalier, and I feel like she is better than Claude because of this weapon, and already comes with a better base kit than Claude. She does have Ardent Sacrifice, which is not really all that good, honestly. Wish she had something different. Attack speed push 4 is definitely really good, and she's got lull speed defense, which is going to be helpful for her to double and also do more damage. So absolutely the perfect lull skill for her, and she already has Desperation built into her bow, so this is like the optimal skill for her. Close Guard 3 is whatever, doesn't really do too much for her as a unit, and Defense Smoke is definitely much better for her. She does have a super boon in speed, which is going to be super helpful with her built-in Desperation, and another slot B option for her is definitely Escape Route. It could help you with the hit and run tactics, especially in something like Ether Raids, and because she has got a push skill, it does have good synergy with Escape Route, but overall like Legendary Leaf is better for that kind of thing because of Niran Zeal. And because she's a pretty competent bow cavalier, we're definitely going to be seeing her in Ether Raids, especially in the Cav line teams. If you saw my Road to Ether Raids tier 27 video, I do face a Cav line team in that. I can see some of those teams using her. So that's Bernie. I definitely didn't expect her to be this good. And the next unit is Annette. Really excited for her. Did vote for her in Choose Your Legends, and she does not disappoint with her weapon and even her stat spread. So she has got Crusher, which does give you +3 attack on top of her already high attack. And keep in mind, she also has a super boon in attack, so she can just go to 43 base attack with that super boon. And Crusher does have adaptive damage built into it, and unlike the adaptive damage which dragons have got, which is only active against range units, and adaptive damage of Crusher is activated against all kinds of enemies, and this doesn't really change too much if she's gonna be facing like tanks, because a lot of tanks these days just have balanced bulk, but against those kinds of polarizing unit with high defense and low resistance, she's definitely going to be able to do a number to them. And the additional effect of this weapon is that if a rally assist skill is used by her, then the target unit can move extra 1 space, and it is only active that turn, and it does not stack with stuff like Armor March, Armor Boots, and it doesn't have any kind of effect on range cavalry units. So basically, Annette can be a really good teammate with melee cavalry units because they could have 4 movement, which is pretty insane. This doesn't really stack up with flying beasts like Tebar and Naysala because the movement buff which they get upon transformation is actually a kind of buff, so it doesn't stack with them. And obviously cannot make Armored March units go like 3 spaces. So it is a really good effect, but she does waste her own turn, meaning that she's most likely not going to be able to like attack anyone when she's going to be rallying someone. This does have its applications, and once in a while you could get maybe spooked by her in something like Arena where she would just rally some kind of unit. And in Ether Raid's defense, people could definitely have her as a rally trap unit. Rally trap is basically a trap where you think a certain unit is going to be coming to attack you because you're in their range. But a unit uses rally and they likely get danced by someone like Legendary Azura or any kind of dancer really. So there, Annette can be really useful because she can act as a rally trap unit and maybe increase the movement of a Gale Force Cavalier on the team like Roy or Eliwood with Blazing Durandal Refine, or Yarn with his Gale Force build, or any of those Cavaliers really with Gale Force, someone like Legendary Ephraim as well. So there, I could definitely see people using her for that kind of thing. And then you also have Legendary Azura who could give +1 movement to another unit. So that team will have basically 2 units with extra movement, and that could definitely be pretty threatening. And a Gale Force Cavalier like Eliwood or Roy with their Weapon Refine can basically be like a Wings of Mercy anchor. So the team could have a lot of Wings of Mercy units, and they could just have the Cavalier fall into the range, and then just chaos will happen. And when they do have Gale Force, they can definitely wreak a lot of havoc. And if someone uses pass on their Gale Force Cavalier who gets boosted by Annette, oh boy, then they're definitely going after a mythic like Air or a Peony or someone weak like that. So there, definitely has a lot of usage. Now outside of that, Annette's stats are actually pretty good. 39 base attack and 36 speed is definitely pretty good. And you could also compare her to Hilda, who is also another 3 houses girl, but Hilda is basically like a speedier version. Annette just hits hard and does have better mixed bulk, so she can actually run a tank build, but for that kind of thing you would definitely need a lot of merges. So she's pretty flexible. She could run a tank build or even an offensive build with that kind of stat spread. And she does have defense res rules, which has incredible synergy with rally attack speed plus and Crusher's effect. So you're gonna be rallying up a unit who is gonna be like offensive unit, and in that case reducing the defense and resistance of the enemy with this rule skill is gonna be proving to be really good. And attack defense gap is alright, it's not really all that impressive. Annette overall is a pretty good unit, does have interesting usage with Crusher, and I definitely appreciate these kinds of effects which are unique. And something like this cannot really get power crept that easily because it's a pretty unique effect, and it can be really fun to play around with. The final unit from this banner is Ferdinand von Ayer, and they have definitely massacred my boy because his base kit is pretty lackluster, and his stat spread is also not really too impressive. I mean, it's not really all that bad, it's definitely salvageable, and he's gonna be the 4-star focus unit on this banner, so if you really like him, you could actually plus and merge him. It takes like 400-500 orbs to plus and merge him. I did plus and merge a rat before, so 4-star focus is incredibly useful for plus and merging these kinds of units. So stat spread, 32 base attack isn't really too impressive. 35 base speed is alright actually, and his bulk is kind of mixed, so he can be useful as like a speedy tank basically. But still, like, we have a lot of Lance Cavaliers, definitely has quite a bit of saturation, and he doesn't really stand out too much because of having no preferred weapon. And he does have Super Boon and Resistance, so once again that's really useful for a tank build. And I guess it's gonna be nice when he's gonna get demoted because it's gonna be another reposition in the normal summoning pool. He does have Fortress Defense at 4-star, which is not very good. I wish they at least gave him Fortress Defense res, but then I don't think they would demote him. Rouse Speed Defense is locked at 5-star. Rouse skills are there if you want some self buffs, and he does have Vanguard Plus as his weapon. So that's Ferdinand von Ayer, and there's really not much to say about him. He's just a unit with balanced stat line, so a speedy tank build is definitely the best way to go. You could also go with an offensive build, but in that case he gets severely outclassed by so many of his competition in the Lance Cavalry category. And this is the Forging Bond, which is going to be happening on 6th of March. So ShailorMercury has also made this kind of chart where you could see when the like 2.0 multiplier is going to be going on, so you could just plan your offenses, I guess. So it is going to be on our Twitter, and Bernadetta is going to be giving the Venus Flytrap accessory, which is pretty nice, and the teddy bear is definitely really cute as well. This also means that you can get 4 summoning tickets to have extra 4 free summons on this banner, thanks to Forging Bond, so that's really good. And now let us move on to the weapon refines that we've got in this patch. So the first unit is Gray. I'm not gonna lie, when I was reading his weapon's name, I was still really sleepy. I read it as Laid Back Babe, not Blade. So yeah, Laid Back Blade gives him effective damage against cavalry units, and at start of combat, if he is above 50% health, then he gets +3 to all of his stats. That's the primary effect, and upon weapon refine, he gets the same effect as Brave Alm, where he wants to be away from his allies, have more enemies than foes within 2 spaces, and if he does that, then he's able to get +5 to all of his stats. So basically with this weapon, he's able to get +8 to all of his stats if all of the conditions are met. So he can be a big ball of stats essentially. And I guess the cavalry effectiveness carries over from Zanbato Plus, but in general, like, cavalry units aren't really the hardest one to take out. They're hard to tank in the enemy phase, not really hard to take out in the player phase in my opinion. So yeah, this weapon refine just makes him a big ball of stats, but it means that you're probably not going to be able to give him stuff like drive, skill buff, or any of those kind of things, because he wants to be away from his allies. So decent weapon refine, it does salvage his stat spread, but still, infantry sword is incredibly competitive. Speaking of sword infantry, we have got our boy Tobin. His weapon is Jubilant Blade, and it does have the armor effectiveness. He retains that from his armor slayer. And its weapon refine is that at start of combat, if he has got 1 more HP than the enemy, then he gets +4 to all of his stats. So his main targets are going to be armor units in something like Arena Assault. We do have Tobin as a free unit, and I do use him as an armor slayer. Against many of the armor units who do have a preferred weapon, like Winter Sothis, Fallen Tiki, stuff like that, they're not really going to be having high enough HP. And Tobin does have 46 base HP, so after weapon refine he reaches 49. You probably do want to run something like HP attack 2 on his slot A just to be safe. And if you do use him in Arena Assault, you are definitely wanting to use him with a Legendary Heroes so that he can get the HP buff, which is going to be super important for him to trigger his weapons condition against a lot of the armor units which have weapon refines or are present on units with Legendary Heroes where they have their HP increased. So for a lot of the dedicated Tobin fans, this is not going to be all that big of an issue, but for people who do use him at Unmerge, you have to do those kinds of things to make sure that he triggers this weapon effect, because I know many people just weapon refine any kind of armor slaying or dragon slaying effect for Arena Assault purpose, and Tobin is pretty decent in that regard. I wish he had a bit more HP, because you're definitely going to be running into some armor units every now and then who have like 68, 69 type of HP with a weapon that's got refined and buff from Legendary Heroes on that team, so it could be troublesome to activate this kind of effect. But you do want to run something like Savage Blue actually in that case, because it does count in the HP. So pretty decent weapon refine if you do want to use them in Arena Assault. And for a lot of the in-game content, this weapon refine is going to be worthless, because abyssal enemies and stuff like that are going to be having incredibly high HP. Even if you go like plus and merge on Tobin, he's still not going to be able to activate his effect. And then we have got Olwen's weapon refine. There are definitely other units who need a weapon refine more desperately than her, but oh well. So Thunderhead has the same Blade Tomb effect, and the weapon refine gives -5 speed and resistance debuff to foes within 2 spaces of Olwen. And once again, there is a mistranslation, because intelligence systems just cannot hire any kind of proofreader or anyone who can actually test this, so we constantly have errors upon errors. So it does activate when Olwen attacks as well. So it's really similar to Tharja's Hex weapon refine, but this weapon refine of Olwen is only active in the player phase, so that's the caveat, I guess. -5 speed and resistance debuff is definitely going to be really useful for her to get more damage and to double, and doubling is definitely going to be important for a Blade Tome mage. And other allies can also make use of this, but once again only in the player phase. And at last we have got our old man Jiegan finally getting a weapon refine. I hope they can also give Gunter one. So Veteran Lance's effect is that if the foe initiates combat on him, or at start of combat, if the foe is at more than 70% health, then he gets +5 attack and resistance in combat. So it's basically like a mirror stance that can be active in both phases, so definitely pretty useful for him. He definitely needs some attack, and his resistance is high as it is. I wish they also put like a distant ward effect. I think that would have been pretty nice. And the weapon refine basically gives you sabotage attack. Jiegan has got really high resistance, so he can definitely make really good use of this effect to support his allies. And you can run another sabotage skill on his slot B, and if sabotage skills become like a sacred seal, then he could run triple sabotage. So that's going to be really useful in terms of utility. And it's kind of hard to make a unit like Jiegan, who has got less BST because of the veteran penalty. who faces a lot of competition just in general, either being defensive or offensive. So this kind of support effect kind of goes well with this high resistance. Definitely going to be pretty useful for the people that use him, but once again, I think that they could have put another effect like a distant ward. That would have been perfect with this resistance. So this batch of weapon refines is overall pretty decent. It's nothing really too groundbreaking in my opinion. And that's gonna be the review. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me a lot with the YouTube's algorithm. And when you subscribe, please be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can always get the updates to my videos whenever I upload. Because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as giving fortress defense to a unit in 2020. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.